So I've been using the Kindle platform since 2023. This is my first gen Kindle Scribe, the 2022 edition, black and white with a front light, and I still use this tablet to this day. This is the third generation Kindle Scribe Colorsoft that released in 2025 that I use it, my wife uses it more, but I still enjoy using this tablet and I probably use it daily as well. Today, we're going to talk about the Kindle Scribe platform, how I use it, and why it's one of my most used e-ink tablets for all of my paper replacement needs, despite all of the other platforms that I have and use on a daily basis. Let's talk about it. Welcome everybody back to the channel. This is 2530 Media, and of course, I am Aaron Reed. Hey, if you guys are new here, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of when I release these videos, which I try to do at least once a week. And of course, if you're finding the information you're listening to informative or at least entertaining, well, you guys know what to do. Go ahead and grab that like button for me. So today we're going to be talking about the Kindle Scribe. I've been using the Kindle Scribe since early 2023, and it has been a staple in my daily e-ink use. Actually, I think the Kindle Scribe platform is my most used e-ink tablet when you look at paper replacements, reading, and all of those use cases that I have for e-ink. The Kindle Scribe gets used at least once a day if no other tablet gets touched. Now, I started my e-ink journey with the 2022 Kindle Scribe, and about 8 months ago, we got the third generation of Kindle Scribe tablets, the Kindle Scribe Colorsoft. Now, today we're going to talk about how I use that tablet on a daily basis for note-taking, journaling, creative writing, learning, my reading notes, and of course, reading, because it's a great e-reader as well as a good note taker. The Kindle Scribe isn't going to be for everybody, and we're going to talk about that. To some users, it's super limited. Even at one point, it was too limited for what I wanted to do with e-ink. But as my use case for e-ink has evolved and just how I use the tablets and interact with these tablets for what I want to get done, my needs have kind of changed as well. And I do consider myself a power user of e-ink, but I don't think that the Kindle Scribe platform is as limited as we think. But again, it's not going to be for everybody. For some people, it's just what you need. And for others, it's a little too limited and it doesn't offer all the tools that that person might need for their use case. But I'm going to show you guys how I use the Kindle Scribe for learning, digesting information, of course, just casual reading because it probably is the best reader, and of course, some note taking. And I'll show you guys what limited tools they do have. Now, let's check it out. So the first thing we're going to do is pull up our document that we're going to use for annotations and note taking. So this is going to be a EPUB document that I sent over of a rough draft of a new story. Now, the first thing that we're going to do here is kind of go through our document, and this is when I'm going to start my note taking. Now, the first set of notes that we're going to take, I'm going to show you guys one of my processes that I use when I'm just starting to take the general notes to prepare myself for whatever that information is that I'm digesting. So the first thing I like to do is just expand my note-taking space to jot down some general information. So next we're going to set up my highlighting system. One color is going to represent Jordan. The next is going to represent the second character, which will be Harold. So I can go here. I can grab my highlighter. We're going to do blue for Jordan. And then we'll go ahead and go with a pink for Harold. So now let's take some notes. So this part of my process is when I just kind of scan through whatever the information is that I've put down, whether if it's an EPUB, whether if it's a PDF or Word document, and I want to make some changes. Since this is an EPUB, I noticed that I want to make some changes to the spacing with some of the artwork, so I'll go ahead and notate that. For this, I'll just utilize the ability to freely write on the document. So now once I take those notes, I have that information here in the same area where I want to make sure I am making those changes. So now let's move to the editing process or the note-taking process. So if I come across a section that I want to highlight, make changes to, expand on, I'll do that. So with this first example we're going to use, we're going to go back to our highlighter. We're going to grab blue because we're going to make some changes to a conversation that Jordan is having. So I'm going to highlight that selection that I want to use. Now, if you notice, I selected the wrong highlighting color for the conversation for Jordan, but it's okay. I can easily tap it, and from there, I can change my highlight from green to the blue that I would need it to be. And so now that I have whatever that selection is highlighted, I can do a couple of things. I can just leave it as highlighted as something I want to come back to. If I wanted to, I could just write some notes in the area. Or if I want to embed some notes in that area, I can do that as well. So when I tap on it, now I can select my note icon. Here I have a couple of options. I can do handwritten notes, or if I want to text, I can do handwritten to text notes, or I can just text these notes out. And so from there, I have a handwritten note for that section. I also have an embedded note that you can see when you select it here. You'll see that test note number 1. Another thing that you can do if you know you have a specific section that you would like to take notes on, by using this icon, now I can just embed a certain set of notes. So now we have a couple of different examples of certain annotations or notes. We have some annotations at the beginning to let us know some information about our artwork design. From here, I have a quick note about this section that I highlighted, and I also have the ability to embed some notes. And again, you can embed either a text or a handwritten note as well. From there, I can just insert some space for note taking if I wanted to make some specific information, maybe regarding the information that's following, regarding the information on the entire page. I can do that as well. Now, what I'm also going to do is bookmark my page. Normally, if I have a certain page or a certain selection, that's a lot of information that I want to make sure I either want to come back to for reference or I want it to stand out, I'll go ahead and bookmark it. So now, with our bookmark, you can select whatever color bookmark that you want for your organization purposes. Usually, if I have a page where I want to totally change the information, or if I'm in a meeting and I want to make sure that I come back to this specific page for whatever that information is, I will go ahead and just tag that with a red bookmark. So now you'll see I have a red bookmark. Now, I also could have double tapped up here. Once I select red again, it's going to go away. But with my double tap, now I've bookmarked it red. Another tool that I like to use is just pinning the page. Now, if I just come to a piece of information where I necessarily don't need to highlight it, don't need to make any annotations, but I do want to make sure it stands out and I can come back to that page for some information, then you just simply go here and you long press. And from there, I can pin that information. So when I come down here to my menu at the bottom, I can select pin and I can see what information I have pinned. Right now, I have one of one locations pinned. We'll do one more example of a highlight with notes and even embedded, and then we'll move over to the next document. So now if you notice on the left hand side, we're going to have the area where our annotations are going to be visible. Now, when you select that area, you can expand it or you can make it smaller. Now, when you navigate through your pages, this is where your annotations, your highlights are going to show up. So if you don't have any annotations or highlights on said page, nothing is going to show up. But as you navigate through your file, you'll see that your annotations are going to show up here. Not your embedded notes, but just your free written annotations. That's what's going to show up in this area here. And you always have more space to add more notes if you would like to add more notes. Now let's see what that all looks like once we export it off. Now, before we export, we have a couple of different options on how we want to export our information. Now, the first thing that we can do is go directly to our annotations. And if we only want to export the annotations that we have made, well, we can do that. We can go to our share button. And we have a couple of different options from send to the email that you have set up with your Amazon account. If you want to, you can send it to up to 5 different emails. You can send it to your drive. I prefer to send all of my information to my Google Drive. I can either send just the annotations, or if I want to, well, I can share the entire EPUB with the content plus the annotations. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to share the entire document, and we're going to share it via Google Drive. So this is what it looks like once I've downloaded the document from the Google Drive that I sent over from the Kindle Scribe. Now, if you notice when we go through our pages, you won't see some of those annotations that we made actually on the document. However, you will see your highlights. Now, once I get to the end of all of this, this is where we're going to start seeing our annotations. So you'll see here we have the title of the document that we have. It lets me know how many annotations I have. I have 11 annotations. I have 2 highlights. It tells me the colors, tells me how many bookmarks, and it tells me how many notes. And then from there, you're going to get to your actual information. So it lets me know on page 3, and it gives me that information that I initially wrote down on page 3. It tells me again the information, page 3. Now I get to page 4, and you see where I highlighted. Now, what I like about this is the entire section that I highlighted that I wanted to take notes on, I have that information highlighted. And then from there, I have whatever that information would have been for that note. Same thing with the bookmark. So normally what I like to do is I'll make my highlight and then I'll make my embedded notes. And if you notice with your highlight, you're also going to get your embedded notes. So if I want notes or information to stick with that highlight, I'll make sure I put it there for use off tablet. Now, when I'm using the information on tablet, that's when I like to have the information written above where I'm going to be highlighted or above the information that I want to come back to. It all just depends on what I'm going to use it for and where I'm going to use it, either on tablet or off tablet. But I do like the fact that I have this clean look with the information outside of the highlights. And then here I can come to my highlights and whatever information or notes that I have attached to those highlights, I have them there for my reference. Now, this was just an EPUB. Now, we're going to look at using a Word document. So I also have a document that I sent over directly from Word. Now, when you get these documents, it's going to essentially bring it over like this. You have your information here, and you can use the same tools that we use for the EPUB inside of this Word document. So we're going to get some highlights in, and we're going to add a note as normal. And it's the same process as last time, and you have the ability to select all the information that you want to select. From there, you can add a highlight if you like, and we'll pin this one as well. And so, like I said, when I'm writing just on the paper or writing on the document, a lot of that is going to be for me to be able to come back to it when I'm using this on tablet. And I like to embed the notes when I'm going to be sending this off to someone. If I'm sending it off to my wife or a colleague and I want them to be able to reference that specific information, that's when I will embed the note or the information. If I want to export just the annotations, I can go ahead and do that. If I want to just export the entire document, well, I can do that as well. And like I said, I can either share it to my personal email, I can email it out to a group of people, or I can just send it via Google Drive like we did last time. And no matter if it was an EPUB or a Word document, it's always going to be uploaded back as a PDF. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you guys is how you can save all of your information in the same place. So now with this one, I want to add it to my folder for editing for this story that I'm working on. Or if it was a meeting that I had set up for work, whatever the information is, and I want it to be all together, this is what I'll do. I'll come here, I'll select it. I'm going to go to add to workspace. And then from there, I'm simply just going to find whatever folder I want it to be in. Once I have that selected, I'm just going to hit add. And now that's going to be saved and organized in one area where I need it to be. We'll do the same for the next file as well. And now we'll add that. So when we go to our workspace, we'll see in our workspace, we have both those documents added to the workspace, both the EPUB and the Word doc. So you have your folder set up, you have your documents and information in there, whether if it's going to be a PDF for a meeting, a document, whether that's a Word document, a Google document, you have those informations in there for a meeting, or you have the EPUB in there for creative editing or just reading and taking some notes. The other thing that we talk about with the Kindle Scribe is just as a pure note taker, paper replacement. It's still a good tablet. It's very limited with what you can do inside of the Notes app. The only tools that you truly have outside of your pen and your pen selections is going to be the ability to have a highlighter. And of course, you have your different color selections there. You also have smart shapes and you can add shapes. So you can select which shape that you just want to add, but you also have the ability to have your smart shapes on. Outside of that, you have your eraser. You have your lasso tool as well. You have a tool that allows you to navigate through the pages with your styli. So here I have an example of some notes that I would take, whether if it's in a meeting, some personal agenda setting up. This is an example of the notes that I would take with the Kindle Scribe. And now what we're going to do is show you guys the AI tool. So we're going to go select AI here. Now, there are a couple of things you can do. The first thing you'll see here is going to be a summarization. So you can summarize your writing, and you have a couple of settings that you can use to just kind of dictate how you want the summary to look, and you can refine your writing. I don't really use refining my writing that much because I'm cool with how my handwriting looks with the Kindle Scribe platform. But what we are going to do is look at the AI summary. Now, what this is going to do is summarize my notes, and it's going to give me a summary of what notes that I've taken. And you can summarize the current page, or you can do the entire notebook. Since I have notes on 3 pages, well, technically 1.5, we're just going to summarize the entire notebook. So we're going to hit summarize the entire notebook and start. So this is what we get from the notebook summarization. Now we're going to add this to the notebook, and then we're going to add it to the last page. And now it's going to take us to that AI summary, and we'll just look over it to see if it actually summarized what I wrote. It did a great job of capturing all the notes that I wrote, from my somewhat of a title page to the actual information that I had in the note. Now, I'll also show you guys what the handwriting refinement looks like. And you're just going to select that. And again, we're going to do the entire notebook. And then from there, we're going to hit start. And from there, you get a refined set of your notes. Now, you have a couple of settings that I should have showed with the summary that you have with the handwriting. So you can go to customize. And from there, you can choose a lot of different things, from font family or style to font size, and you can even choose your line and spacing. So let's say if I wanted to change this to a handwriting font, it will change it to a handwriting font. If I want to change it back to that, I can. I can also change the size if I want to make it larger, or I can make it smaller. So it just depends on how you want that handwriting to look. So those were just a few quick examples of how I use the Kindle Scribe in my daily life. Now, a lot of my use case for the Kindle Scribe is going to be for learning, retaining information that I'm reading, with actually writing notes within the book or PDF that I am using on tablet. I also use it a lot for editing my writing. Between the Kindle Scribe And the Remarkable platform, that's pretty much what I use for all of my writing editing. Now, I do like using the Kindle Scribe platform a little bit more than other platforms just due to how I can get my information off tablet and how that information is displayed. Now, I also use the Kindle Scribe platform for just regular note taking, regular journaling, and even regular writing. Because with its limited tool set, it does have just the right amount of tools for what I want to get accomplished in those settings. I don't use AI with my writing a lot, and I definitely don't use AI within my note taking a lot. But I do appreciate the AI tools that the Kindle Scribe provides for its users. While I don't refine my handwriting a lot with the Kindle Scribe I do like to summarize my notes. I think that AI summary of your handwritten notes that you get on the Kindle Scribe is pretty good and accurate, and I like to use it from time to time. And I also like the fact that I can send my information to whoever I need to from tablet, or simply just move that information to the Google Drive to use it on other devices. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you think about how I'm using the Kindle Scribe platform. And is the Kindle Scribe too limited for you? Or is it offering just the right amount of tools for what you need to get done? And let's not forget, if you're like me and you are totally engulfed in that Amazon Kindle ecosystem for your reading, well, it's the perfect reader as well. Thank you for checking out the content, and I'll see you guys next time.